Hmm. God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on. What flavor is this?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 11 of Tomorrow's Fights podcast. We will be previewing UFC 223 tonight. That is Holloway versus Nurmagomedov. That's right, Max Holloway is stepping in for the injured Tony Ferguson, who we all learned was injured on April 1st of all days. It was not a joke, to our dismay. Learned about it on Sunday. This was not a training injury. He apparently tore ligaments in his knee, tripping over a wire in the studio of a UFC media event. You cannot make this shit up. But nonetheless, we have a good card ahead of us, so we will soldier on. With you, as always, I'm your host, Matthew Catalano, and my co-host, Matt Branscombe. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how it going, guys? Sorry to be calling in today and not having the video, but I'm on the road. Actually, I'm not sorry that I'm calling in today with people falling off of this card like crazy all the way up to the last minute. I think it's just kind of par for the course if I actually have to call in and make it a little bit different than what it would normally be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last three pay-per-view events, all the headliners changed, right, for the main events. It's just, You can't keep these guys together, you know? I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this injury as we get further down the card to that fight. I don't want to go over all of it right now because I do think it's really interesting that apparently he tore his LCL falling. Tore it completely. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. But, yeah, you know, not a bad card overall. I like it. I'm excited for it. And I think there's a little bit of that UFC magic in the air where we haven't had a card for 3 weeks and people are... You know, anybody that's complaining about that there's too much content is kind of shutting up and missing that Saturday night experience. So I'm glad to have a quality pay-per-view back. And, you know, this one is a really nice card, a 13-fight card. Got a lot of fights on this card. Overall thoughts? Do you like it?
I think it's a good card. This is one of those ones, you know, how I tend to judge cards is by if I would happily shell out, you know, $60-65 for it. I would for this card. You know,
I would too.
Not just because I'm a Khabib fanboy and I'll pay any money to watch him fight, but you know, we got the rematch between Joanna and Rose, which is a great fight. We've got you know, Michael Chiesa versus Anthony Pettis, which even though, you know, both of them a little bit salty in the records lately, I think that's a great fight. Iaquinta and Paul Felder, great fight. Double K versus Felice Herrig. I mean, also great fight. This is pretty good. You know, even got some stuff for everybody on the undercard, which we'll talk about later as well.
Yeah, solid pay-per-view. So speaking of the undercard, let's just jump right into the prelims. In the interest of time, quick disclaimer, we're not going to go over every prelim, but we will pick our most excited, most intriguing prelim of the night. So that's the fight that you're most looking forward to, the fight you're not going to miss on the undercard. We'll also pick our breakout fighter of the night. That's somebody that can do some big things with a win. And then, of course, we will pick our pink slip fighter of the night. And now this can extend to the main card if it applies, but this is somebody that you think is fighting for their job, possibly. So, I'll start with you, Branscombe. Most intriguing fight on the prelims. What are you looking forward to the most, and why?
I would say the fight I'm looking forward to the most is probably the Evan Dunham versus Olivier Aubin-Mercier. This Mercier kid, I think, is on the come up. Evan Dunham's a stud. I'd like to see him up against him, see where he's at. And if he needs, you know, more tools, or if he's got all the tools he needs to fight there. So that's what I'm most interested in seeing on the undercard.
And that's going to be a great grappling match too. I mean, I hope it's
I
hope it's a grappling match. I hope it's not a shitty kickboxing match between two excellent grapplers.
Exactly, which happens far too often.
Yeah, exactly. Too often do we find that. I want to look at the odds real quick because I think Aubin-Mercier should be a small favorite, I would guess. Is that what you would guess?
You know what? I have every single main event odds written down, but I do not have that.
You know what? I'm wrong. Evan Dunham is a favorite.
They picked Evan Dunham.
Evan Dunham is a minus 150 favorite.
So, I mean, barely.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially a pick-em, but...
You know, giving some respect to the salty veteran here, you know?
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, Evan Dunham, that's right. He was on this, like, really dark horse 4-fight win streak. Remember that? Where, like, nobody noticed it? And then he fought Beneil Dariush, who I thought Dariush was gonna kill him. Not kill him, but I thought it was an obvious favored matchup for Dariush, who was what I would say is a slightly more competent or skilled grappler, slightly slicker, and then just better pressure fighter on the feet. And then that went to a draw, which was super weird because I think Dariush had a 10-8 first round, and then Evan Dunham came back and won the second 2 rounds 10-9.
Yeah, I remember that fight too.
Right. So, I mean, Evan Dunham is still looking good. He still hasn't had a loss since the Edson Barbosa fight in 2014. Oh, my God. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, if you look up and down on this card, there's a bunch of fighters in here with really good records starting that far back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. I mean, I still think Aubin Mercier is maybe a slightly more gifted grappler, or at least he's definitely younger and more of an athlete than Evan Dunham at this point. Evan Dunham is just like, dude, he's the definition of a veteran in the UFC, you know?
Mm-hmm. God, I love the picture that the UFC uses of him right now, too. Just this cocky, shoulders back, just grimy looking dude.
You can tell, he doesn't give a fuck and, like, he's just coming to work, you know?
Yeah, did not want to be there to take pictures that day. I'd hate to have been a photographer. Can we try one more today, Evan? Please, just one more. Now that you got it. Yeah. You got it.
That's funny. So that's actually opening the cable prelims on Fox Sports 1. That'll be Evan Dunham versus Olivier Aubin Mercier at lightweight. So, yeah, Evan Dunham, small favorite. You know, essentially a pick'em fight, though. That's going to be a fun grappling match. It's funny because right above that is Joe Lozon versus Chris Gutzmacher, which obviously Lozon would love to turn that into a fun grappling match as well. But my pick for most intriguing fight is actually going to be something you mentioned earlier, Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Felice Herrig. And this is headlining the Fox Sports 1 prelims card. This is a huge fight for Herrig. You know, this is like her first chance to break into contendership, I mean, ever. You know? Yeah.
You know, this was actually I was going to pick her to be, if winning this fight, and that's a big if. I mean, she's a slight underdog in this fight. For her to be my breakout fighter.
Yeah.
Because you know, Carolina has been up to the mountaintop once. Also fought
Rose, Joanna.
She fought Rose, beat Rose.
Yep, handily.
And she lost to Claudia Gadelha not too long ago. Got that, first round where she made the mistake on the ground, ended up giving up her back.
Right.
Tried to give up, tried to stand up with her back to the opponent, ended up giving up her back.
Right, she took the risk.
Yeah, Felice is now on a 4-fight win streak, and the last person she lost to, Paige Van Zandt. I know that's weird, but since then has every single fight to me has looked better and better. It looks like she's putting it all in, all of her tools together now and becoming a more complete fighter. So, I would say that's my breakout fighter, but I'm still more interested in seeing the other fight first.
Yeah, Felice, she's always been one of those fighters where you're like, well, she's talented and she's like got the skill. Like you never question whether she has the skill. It's always been mental with her or putting all the pieces together. Almost like Eric Silva is like an exaggerated example of this, but he's another one where you're like, the dude has the talent, he has the skills, but like he's just not putting it together, or there's other questions about USADA or whatever. But just
even before that, we saw him crack.
Yeah.
We saw him crack in the first Matt Brown fight. I think that was pre-USADA, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
I remember him looking pre-USADA in that fight.
Right. Okay, so maybe that's a bad example, but just someone like that you think of. Oh, at any time this person can finish the fight or is potently offensive. Like Felice Herrig, at any time she can get on your back and it's over. Or
right.
Or it's like, okay, even if she doesn't do that, well, damn, she's a really good kickboxer. So like that's a pretty good combination. She's a potent grappler, a good kickboxer. She has okay wrestling. It's always been mental though. Sometimes she talks about it too, like she doesn't believe in herself or have the confidence. That's something I really worry about her going into this Carolina fight, is almost like I'm worried that she knows how good Carolina is. I don't know, and if she's thinking that, I'm hoping that she's like got over those issues that she said she has. But this is going to be a tough fight for her. She's going to have to fight a smart distance fight, avoid the clinch. I don't know. Are you picking her here, or what do you think?
I'm thinking with her okay wrestling and her submission ability, I'm picking her to win this fight. I think if she gets it to the ground at any time, which she's capable of, I disagree with her avoiding the clinch. I think she needs to get in and grab a hold of her. Carolina is a kickboxer, used to a kickboxing range. Not only is she a kickboxer, she's a very good kickboxer. She held her own on her feet with Joanna. I think
did you see what she did to Rose in the clinch? She mauled that girl. With elbows, knees. I don't think Felice wants to be there. Yeah, if it's just to get her to the ground, yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying. To get her to the ground. I'm not saying get in there and try to work Muay Thai.
Try to fight a Thai battle with her.
Yeah, Thai battle with her. I'm saying I think Felice is a more athletic, stronger fighter than Rose is, and if she can get a hold of her, get her hands on her, get her dragged down to the ground with what kind of ever ugly takedown you want. I think that's where her best chance lies, and I think she can do it. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pick her on this one.
I think if she can take 2 rounds off her like that, you could totally see this fight where Felice goes in aggressive and gets on top for 3 minutes and wins the round. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Carolina's just grappling off her back, and Felice is. I think Felice is a more competent grappler than Carolina, but she fights off her back like way too much for me. Felice will give up a whole 30-27 just off her back. But I don't think that's going to be what happens here with Carolina. I don't know. I'm really rooting for Herrig because I want to see her like break into contendership. She's always been like kind of the gatekeeper, and now she's finally on that 4-fight win streak. I just don't see it though. I don't see her getting it to the ground enough to win 2 rounds. And I think her last fight against Courtney Casey, man, she won, but barely. She just made poor decisions. Like she was in areas of the fight that she was clearly winning, and then she took it to different areas and like kind of fought however Courtney Casey wanted to fight, and it just I started to get worried about like where her mind is at with that.
I don't
fight.
remember a whole lot of specifics of that fight. That's how great of a fight it was.
It wasn't a good fight, but it wasn't a smart fight.
Right. I do remember thinking, watching the fight though, that it's kind of like Felice is fighting down.
Yes.
I didn't think Courtney Casey was on that level, and so that happens.
Yeah.
You're out there against somebody who's not going to push you. You don't push.
Right. Obviously, she's not going to fight down to Carolina because Carolina is incredibly talented.
Yeah, and I think if she does drop this one, which is a very good possibility, Carolina is the slight favorite. I think it's going to be on the feet. I think she runs the possibility of getting tuned up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Against a very far superior kickboxer.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see if it does get to the floor. I'm taking Carolina, but I'm rooting for Felice, which is always kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
Anyways, my breakout fighter is actually going to be the opening fight on the Fight Pass prelims, which I think this is kind of weird that they placed it there. Zabat Oh, wait. I'm not going to mess up his last name. Come on.
No,
Zabat
don't even try.
Magomed Sharapov. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, I've not seen this guy fight. I have seen him.
You've seen the highlights?
I've seen him standing next to Khabib a lot, though.
Okay,
Seems like
well,
he's in the picture all the time.
you should be on watch duty at 6 o'clock. The second Fight Pass prelims come on, because if this dude really is the first to open up that card, he is an absolute joy to watch. I mean, this is like not like Sean O'Malley kinds of goofiness and fun, but he does throw all that crazy shit, but he's more punishing with it, and he's got a great top game. You know, he fights like he's trying to get somebody to notice him, but he has like so much more leeway. Not with like Sean O'Malley, where in the first, not the Andre Sukumtov fight, which was great. That was a total evolution of Sean O'Malley. But his first fight against Tyrion Ware, where he just threw fucking everything and he was all over the place, and you were like, dude, you need to tap the brakes or something.
If you could give me one straight down the pipe, Sean O'Malley, during that fight, I would have been happy.
Yeah, you could throw a straight punch, like, please. But no, like Zabat, he like kind of looks like he's trying to impress somebody, but he does it, and it looks like he has so much more leeway, like he's not even close to being as effective as he can, or like he's never in trouble. You know what I mean? Right. And you can say that he's been like crushing cans so far, and I mean, sure, I guess he has, but I mean, what is he? He's 13-1, I think. Let me look at this real quick. Okay, he's 14-1. And, I mean, he's fought two basically no names in the UFC, but he's finished them. And now his next step up is Kyle Bochniak, which is a perfect step up for him. That's great. And Kyle Bochniak is, you know, you can click his name on Wikipedia. He is a UFC caliber fighter. And I like how they're grooming Zabat instead of throwing him to the wolves immediately. But, dude, people are so high on this guy. Like, the hype is out of control. They're like, yo, is he a future champ at 145? Like, what's going on? It's like, I mean, slowly roll. Let's evolve him. Let's like groom him a little bit. You know, I know the UFC rushes prospects and kills them, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Zabat can do with Kyle Bochniak, who is going to put up a little more resistance than his other opponents in Moraes and Santiago. So he's my breakout fighter of the prelims. I do think it's weird that they're putting him on first on the Fight Pass. A lot of people are going to miss that, but I don't know. Maybe they want to start the show with a good note. I don't know.
Am I reading this right? He's 6'1" and fights at 145.
Yeah, dude. He's a big 145er, but he doesn't look like scrawny. He doesn't look like debilitated. He looks healthy. He looks built. Just kind of like cut 6'1". I mean, really, featherweight. What's Max Holloway? Max Holloway is almost, well, he's 5'11".
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's my breakout fighter of the prelims. He is also, by the way, the biggest favorite on the card at -800.
Wow.
That's pretty serious.
Put some money on Bochniak then.
It's not a value bet if there's no chance that he wins.
Yeah.
All right, and that leaves us with the pink slip fighter of the night. Is there anyone that jumps out at you that you think is kind of fighting for their job here? I have one name in mind.
I have two. One of them, I hope it's her, Beck Rawlings. I know I called for this last time she was on the card.
You done now with her? You done?
She's dropped 4 or 5 in a row. They list her record as 7-7. I don't believe it. I don't think I've ever seen her win a fight. I don't know where those 7 wins come from. I'm pretty sure they're not in the UFC. I'm not sure. And the other one would be, I hate to say it, but probably Bruce Leroy. He's also been really salty lately. I think they're going to keep Artem around even if he loses by knockout because of his associations.
I don't think they're going to cut. I don't think they're going to cut Leroy. You're talking about Alex Caceres, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's 13-11, but the dude always brings it. He's always exciting. He is the perfect. What is he fighting at, bantamweight now? No, he's fighting at featherweight now. But fuck it, he is the perfect gatekeeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you got a prospect coming in, he's fighting at featherweight. You know what's? If he wins this fight, put Zabat with him. That would be perfect. You know, like a gateway into the top 25. You know, and Caceres is only on a 1-fight loss streak. He's lost.
Yeah, but before that, I mean, I think he won 1 or 2 before that. Then it was another like 2-fight skid or 3-fight skid. I'm not looking at his record right now.
Yeah. So remember when he beat Sergio Pettis when Sergio was supposed to?
It was Sergio's first fight though in the UFC, wasn't it? It was his first or second fight.
It was his second fight. Yeah. So he beat Sergio at bantamweight, and then after that he dropped 3 straight, and then he dropped 3 straight to Uriah Faber, Kanahara, and Francisco Rivera, and then he fought. Then he went back to featherweight and won 2 fights. Then he lost 2 fights. Then he won 1 fight. Then he lost 1 fight, and now he's 13-11. So
you're right. So I was thinking it was worse than that when I perused it earlier.
I mean, it's not great, but
yeah.
But I don't think they're gonna cut him because he's a name. People know him from The Ultimate Fighter, and he's exciting and he's a good gatekeeper. So he has value for the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my pick is also Bec Rawlings. Yeah, no surprise there. I mean,
yeah,
I think she's on a 3-fight losing streak, and she just hasn't looked good. She got switch kick KO'd by Paige Van Zandt,
which was the most exciting thing that I've ever seen happen in her fight. There was another one where she got pretty bloodied up. I can't remember which one it was.
Maybe Tisha Torres?
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways, I don't know. All her wins come from the regional circuit in Australia, and like she was known from Invicta, and then she was in the Tough House, and like people know who she is. It's just like, I don't know, you have to serve a purpose in the hierarchy of the division you're in, and I'm just not sure Bec Rawlings does anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this could definitely be it for her. The only thing that's saving her is she's fighting at flyweight, which is brand new. So, you know, that division is not stocked with fighters. Okay, well, that about does it for the prelims. Do you have anything else that you want to highlight or talk about? Anything else that jumps out on you as a don't miss it or anything like that on the prelims?
I mean, I wouldn't say any of them jump out to me, but you know, the Joe Lozon fight is something I would like to watch. You know, he had a rough outing not too long ago. You know, then that was right after winning that very controversial split decision where he actually said that the other fighter should have won it.
Marcin Held, who's not even in the UFC anymore, man. That was crazy.
Yeah, then we got Ray Borg versus Brandon Moreno, which also would be a fun fight.
Is that Ray Borg's first fight back after the DJ fight? Let me see this. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be his first fight back after his Mighty Whiz Bar loss to Demetrius Johnson. Yeah. I mean, he should, like, a confident, healthy Ray Borg should dust the floor with Brandon Moreno. So let's see where his head's at after that Mighty Mouse fight. Because, damn, he got his ass whooped.
Yeah. And it was 24 straight minutes of an ass whooping followed by, you know, one of those things that is going to be shown on a UFC highlight reel for the rest of time. Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, I did not pick him to win, but I thought he was going to have, and this is not any knock on Ray Borg, he's a great fighter. I thought he was going to have more success in transition than that. And Demetrius Johnson just ate his fucking lunch, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, Demetrius is one of those, like you said, it's no knock on Ray Borg. Demetrius is one of those fighters that steps up his game when he needs to. And I think he was, you know, wanting that fight win streak record for championship wins, championship defenses, and he stepped it up in a big way. You know, Ray had some trouble making weight for the first one because of some illnesses. So, you know, take with that what you want. I think they pushed the fight back like 3 weeks or something.
Right. That was weird.
Yeah.
Because that fucks up your whole camp, you know?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, it'll be good to see where his head's at.
Right, and he's a pretty big favorite too, as he should be. But again, like, let's see if he, you know, I think the odds are assuming he's the same fighter he was before he lost to DJ. Yeah, he's minus 280. Woo, pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, like you said, we have Joe Lozon on the prelims, and then Artem Lobov versus Bruce Leroy is headlining the Fight Pass prelims. I mean, that's a pretty competitive fight. I'll be watching.
Yeah, and it could be entertaining, like you said. Neither of them, you know, top of the food chain fighters, but
perfect
both of them always.
That's the war of the gatekeepers right there.
Not just being gatekeepers; they're both entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
You know,
they're not gatekeeper wrestlers that Dana White hates. You know.
Yeah.
Or I don't mean wrestlers are not exciting, but like, you know, the Lane Prayers or the John Fitches, but yeah, not a bad prelim card. 8 fights total between the Fight Pass and the prelims. I feel like that's a lot. 13 fight card, slightly above average. All right, let's jump right into the main card, the pay-per-view. This is at 10 p.m. on Saturday, and it opens up with Iaquinta versus Paul Felder. Raging Iaquinta comes in at 13-3. Paul Felder 15-3. Iaquinta is a slight favorite at minus 120. Paul Felder coming back at minus 110. This is essentially a pick'em. I'm really excited for this fight. I think this is such a fun matchup, and I'm gonna say this right now as my general thought, and then I'll let you pick it apart. But I think this is gonna be. Well, depending on their takedown defense, I think both of these fighters are going to want this on the ground, even though they are known for their striking. What do you think about that?
I think they're going to be slinging balls at each other.
So
I think both of them like to punch. You know, other than Jorge Masvidal, Iaquinta has been knocking the shit out of everybody. He's 8-2 in the octagon. He hasn't lost since 2014. He's my pick for this fight. I like Paul Felder. I like Paul Felder's style. If you've listened to him commentate, you kind of and seen a fight, you kind of know what kind of fighter he is. I think both of them are going to be coming at each other and slinging. And I just think Al's been fighting a lot better quality of fighter, and you know, I guess you could do some MMA math. You know, he's knocked out Ross Pearson. Paul Felder lost to Ross Pearson, but even though, you know, Paul Felder's 3 losses in the UFC were against Barboza, Pearson, and Trinado. It's I mean, both of them good, tough fighters. I think it's going to stay on the feet as much as possible. So I think they're going to want to sling at each other.
Also, the Trinaldo fight was a doctor stoppage, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I just think there's a few more layers to this fight because they are strikers. But, man, Paul Felder in his last 3 fights, boy learns he's got some fucking elbows, man. Damn. I mean, he was in some bad places against Charles Oliveira, and he stayed in his guard. And his corner was like, get up. And he was like, no, fuck it. I'm going to break his face into the mat.
Yeah.
And he did. You know, he stayed in Oliveira's guard. And Paul Felder has what I would call, like, serviceable, adequate jiu-jitsu defense. Like, fundamental, good guard defense. Like, if you can wait around in Oliveira's guard, I think Oliveira might have the most offensive guard at 155. I don't think that's a crazy statement to make. And yeah, Paul Felder, once he got out of the Darce sequence that Oliveira had him in, dude, he just beat the brakes off him. I mean, he might have almost stole that round back, and it was like 3 minutes of full Oliveira, Darce, and back control.
Right.
So, and then you get into the second round, and you can tell Oliveira is like, you know, the gas is running out. You can kind of always see when like the life bar is depleted with with Oliveira. And damn, dude, once it got back into his guard, Paul Felder just beat the shit out of him. Just whooped his ass. And he did that to the last 3 guys he fought, too. And it's like you can kind of see... It's not like he's turning himself into a wrestler or anything. He's a kickboxer first, but he did the same thing with Stevie Ray, who was a grappler. He pretty much just, like, took the fight into guard, into Stevie Ray's guard, and then just elbowed the shit out of him. And I mean, he set that up from striking, but I think Paul Felder is starting to like learn that he's got something special there with his ground and pound or with his elbows. And I think, he could keep this on the feet the whole time. Sure, he could. But I bet he thinks in the back of his mind, like, there's no way that Al Iaquinta has a better guard than Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, but is Al Iaquinta going to be confident enough in his guard to stay? You know, you got someone
is he going to have a choice? Sometimes these guys
Oliveira. You got someone like Charles Oliveira who isn't trying to get out of his guard. He's not trying to. He's wanting to set traps.
Okay, sure.
If you got somebody up there throwing bombs at you and you're trying to set traps, sometimes you end up on the losing end of the stick. Al Iaquinta is not going to be that guy.
Right, but you're assuming that Al Iaquinta can just get up whenever he wants. I'm not sure if that's...
What camp is he out of? Is he out of Mark Henry's camp?
He's out of Serra-Longo.
Serra-Longo, yeah. I don't see him having a problem getting up.
So maybe that's true. Now let's go. I'm only focusing on Paul Felder here, but back to Al Iaquinta. Al Iaquinta also has a very underrated ground game. As soon as you take him down, or sometimes if he's hurt, he'll like kind of sneakily pull a butterfly guard and he'll like pop you right into a single X guard and go for heel hooks. Like he went for heel hooks against Jorge Masvidal. He went for heel hooks against Kevin Lee. Like he's a purple belt under Matt Serra. But you can tell Al Iaquinta likes himself some grappling, and I just have this feeling that in the back of both of these guys' heads, they're like, yeah, we're strikers first. Yeah, I could beat him on the feet, but man, I think I can really fuck him up on the ground, you know. And I have a feeling that we're gonna see Al Iaquinta shoot some single legs here, and because I will say this about Paul Felder, his defensive guard from his back is not good. Not good. Mm-hmm. And I think Al Iaquinta sees that and thinks he can pass that guard and just, you know, either win rounds, do damage, or fuck him up enough on the ground that once they do stand back up, he'll have a big advantage. I really, really think you're going to see one of these two guys shoot for takedowns here. I really think. Because if Paul Felder gets on top in Al Iaquinta's guard, he's got the advantage. But if Al Iaquinta gets on top, I think he could pass guard. You know? Mm-hmm. So I think there's just a little bit more layers here than just a kickboxing match. But I'm gonna pick Al Iaquinta as well.
All of that, you gave me all of that just to pick the same guy that I picked.
Yeah, well, you know, I want to give everybody their due. The only thing about Al Iaquinta is like, dude, he's been so inactive. You know? Yeah,
but that's contract disputes and stuff like that.
I know, but it's not.
I don't think it was injuries.
No, it's not. But it's not good for your consistency in the cage. You know what I mean?
What's his age? What's he getting on now? Is he over 30?
He's exactly 30.
He's exactly 30. Shit, that might have done him some good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the thing is, I wanted to watch more. I wanted to go back and watch more tape on Al Iaquinta. And it's just like, I don't like watching tape on fighters that's more than 3 years old because I don't feel like it's realistic of like what they represent at this point in time.
Exactly.
And if you look at Al Iaquinta, if you exclude all tape of him from 3 years ago, then you're left with one fight, and that's him knocking out a washed up Diego Sanchez. Mm-hmm. That's not a lot of data, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you think that Jorge Masvidal fight was like a couple days ago. It was 3 years ago. It's just crazy. But that's the thing, man. Like, the 155-pound division has been like this triumvirate of the triangle of Khabib, Ferguson, and McGregor. It's like that's what it's been for a long time. And like everybody else has been trying to like break into that, you know, Kevin Lee, And I've always looked at Al Iaquinta as like, dude, this guy's on a 5-fight win streak in the 155-pound division, and like you said, he's knocking people out. Like, I want to see him get up there, you know?
Yeah.
So, I'm picking him too, but I think this is going to be a very close fight. I don't know. I just think look for him to shoot some singles. That's all I'm saying. I think we're going to see him shoot some singles. He did it on Jorge Masvidal. Anyways, yeah. So pick and fight. Al Iaquinta is a -120. If you even want to call that a favorite, I mean barely, very very small favorite. And then Paul Felder comes back at a -110. So that is opening up the pay-per-view card. Great start to the pay-per-view. I really like that they chose that as the opener. I think they know that's going to be an exciting fight. I don't think that has a chance of being a shitty fight. So, all right, we're both picking Al Iaquinta there to get it done. Let us soldier on. This next fight, Anthony Showtime Pettis, 20-7. Takes on Michael Chiesa, who comes back at 14-3, only 3 losses. Pettis has actually moved to a +105 underdog, while Chiesa has eclipsed to a favorite at -135. I'm really not surprised about that at all. I think they opened at even odds, or Pettis was a slight favorite. But given all the grappling issues he's had in the past, you know, I was almost positive that Chiesa would turn to the favorite and some money would come in on him late, and it has. Are you surprised that Chiesa is the favorite here?
No, I mean, with Anthony Pettis, such a promising career that just kind of fell off of the cliff once he lost that belt. I mean, he's barely above 50-50 since 2015. And that's with 8 fights in there. Chiesa, you know, was on a 3-fight win streak before that Kevin Lee loss, you know, disputed. He said he didn't tap, but I mean, it looked pretty brutal to me with the position he was in. I didn't see how he was going to get out of it.
He was going to use his neck flexing, man. That's a thing. Come on.
Yeah, but the Kevin Lee has some arms that could look like he was about to pop his head off there. But I even going along with it, I think Chiesa is going to have this one. Pettis just hasn't shown me anything in his last, 8 fights that would say that he's anywhere near what he used to be. I don't know if it's the fire. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. They tried different weight class. They brought it back to this weight class. He went down. He's back up. And Chiesa is just one of those tough dudes that's in there to grind. And I think he's going to crack him.
Well, do you think he's gonna take him down and just kind of, and Pettis is just not gonna get up and he's just gonna lose?
Yeah, he's gonna. He's one of those guys that likes pushing you up against the fence. He likes grinding you down. He's not gonna be shooting explosive Yo Romero doubles. He's not gonna be doing anything like that. He's gonna be pushing you around, making it dirty, and that's the kind of fight that normally Pettis does not do. Yeah, he does not do well in. Look at Dos Anjos, which started the skid.
Yeah.
That grimy, not going to give you space. Chiesa, even though he's just as...
He's a rear naked choke artist,
Yeah, and a guillotine artist. I don't know if you remember his time on Tough and there right after that. I mean, he gets a hold of your neck. It's lights out. You're not getting out of that squeeze.
And he had that rear naked choke on Beneil Dariush, which was super surprising because Dariush is a very talented black belt.
And I think a lot of the advantages that Pettis normally has, reach and height, he doesn't have that against Chiesa either. But I do not think, even with the reach advantage and the height, I still think he's going to try to keep it close, pushing him up, pushing him around, dragging on him, dragging him down to the ground. And I think, we're going to see Anthony crack again. Of course, this will be the time that he, does a fucking backflip off of the top ropes and, a flying knee to the head or some shit like that. But I don't know. I hate to say it, but I kind of think those Showtime days are over.
Yeah, I mean, I feel similar. Like, check this out. When Anthony Pettis won the title, when he won it against Ben Henderson, remember he armbarred him from his back?
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
And Ben Henderson is a legit jiu-jitsu specialist.
Yes.
Got his black belt. At the time, he might have been a purple or brown, but it was one of those competing purple or brown belts. I believe that same year he might have gone and competed at ADCC. It was either that year or the very next year.
Yes.
So...
Well, not only that, but Ben Henderson wasn't this, like, first-time champ, dude. He defended the belt, like, 3 times before that. You know, he had the Frankie Edgar fights. I think he wiped the floor with Nate Diaz. Remember that? Yeah. Shut down his jiu-jitsu game. And, Anthony Pettis just rolls up and is like, yo, remember the time I jumped off the cage like a ninja and kicked you in the face in WEC? I'm going to break your arm in 3 minutes this time. And he did it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read you his record at the time of the Gilbert Melendez title defense, because right after he won the belt from Ben Henderson, remember he defended against Gilbert and he guillotined him? Mm-hmm. Okay, at that point in time, Anthony Pettis was 18-2. What a shiny record, right? 18-2. Crazy.
Yeah.
Right now, he's 20-7. I mean,
I mean,
that's rough.
It's one of those you almost can't even explain it. Things, with his age. I mean, is he 30 yet?
He's 31. I have a theory.
31.
I have a theory. Yeah. So, dude, I think his knees are just shot, man, and I think his whole game, like, a lot of people when they watch Anthony Pettis fight now, they're like, man, dude just doesn't throw enough volume. Like, just doesn't throw enough volume to win rounds. It's like he's always waiting. He's always waiting for. We know he's a counter striker, but like he's always. He never throws enough for you to be comfortable with him that, like, okay, yeah, he got that round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, dude, he has always been like that. People don't understand that it's like his style didn't really change. It's just his ability to capitalize on those moments changed. Like, he's not as quick, and his footwork is, like, sloppier than it used to be. Like, he doesn't get those head kicks up as fast as he used to be. He used to just find this, like, pinpoint moment where he would catch you with a head kick like Danny Castillo, like Joe Lozon. And, I mean, he just doesn't... I think that, like, his body just doesn't respond in the same, like, quick twitch muscle memory that he's used to. And he's like, fighting... He's fighting a young man's game in his old man's body, and, like, at the same time, he's trying to adapt his game. And it's just, like, you can't recreate yourself at 31. And I just think, he's had so many injuries... I don't think we see the same Anthony Pettis, and I don't think he's any technically worse than he was, but I just feel, based on what we've seen, like, his body just doesn't respond at the moments he needs it to,
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, he's always been one of those guys who is, like, really aggressive from his back, and in the WC, he, like, won a ton of fights by triangle. Like, he triangled Shane Roller when he was, like, a plus 250 underdog. That was Mark Lehman's prodigy. He triangled, like, a couple other people. And, like, like we just said, he armbarred Ben Henderson from his back. He's, like, a very active jiu-jitsu guy from his back. But then at the same time, like, that can get you in trouble, like we saw with Clay Guida or RDA. And it's like, now he doesn't know whether he should, like, play his guard off his back or get up. It's like... It's so hard to be a guard player in the UFC because you never know if you're going to have enough time to finish. And even Pettis' last fight, he had Poirier in a couple of triangles, but there was just so much blood that Poirier was slipping out. And you can tell that Pettis, like, in his mind, he never really, like, knows, like, shit, should I get up or should I, like, I feel like I can submit him. I feel like I can get that triangle. But am I going to spend 5 minutes and lose the round doing it? And he's always had that problem. And it's like, I think his camp just has trouble, like, formulating a game plan for him these days.
Yeah, which is weird that, coming out of Duke Memphis' camp, which, those guys are top notch. I mean, that's a top notch camp. I don't know. I think, you might be onto something. I think part of it also is the book got out on him. You know, he was able to, do slick jiu-jitsu stuff off of his back. Only for a little while on the feet. Whenever everybody seems to have figured out your kickboxing and stand-up game, and you have to rely on just your jiu-jitsu, it's a different ball game. I just think, it's most likely a couple of different factors,
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Michael Chiesa is the perfect recipe to exploit all the issues we're talking about here. And, that's why I'm picking him as well. The one thing I'll say about Pettis is, like, his back defense is pretty solid. Him and Sergio managed to get their backs taken in, like, every fight. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, Pettis' luck kind of ran out in his last fight. He had a body triangle on him, tried to turn into it, and just shredded that cartilage in his ribs,
Yeah.
I could tell you what that feels like. It sucks ass.
Yeah. Me too.
Yep. So, I'm picking Chiesa. At this point in time, he's like a minus 130 favorite. Man, I would really love to see Pettis just go out there and just, like, blow him out of the water with a crazy knee or something, though. I love Pettis, man. Like, I watched him in the WEC all the time. I watched that documentary on him, The World of Janks. You ever seen that? It's so good. It's just this guy, like, following him up until the Danny Castillo fight, and where he was, like, a huge underdog because he had just lost his last fight, and then he goes out and, like, kicks him in the face and knocks him out. It was just, like, a really nice story. You learn all about how, like, Pettis' father was stabbed and killed in a robbery, and, like, him and his brother were left, like, to fend for themselves, essentially, so they put themselves in martial arts, and, like, his whole life has just been, like, coming up through adversity, and like, it's a really impressive story, and, like, ever since I followed him from the WC, like, I've always wanted him to do well, and, yeah, man, and this skid he's on has been tough, and picking against him now is tough, but this is what the fights have shown us, and I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like his path to victory is the most likely outcome here. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So we're both picking Chesia for this one. I keep wanting to mispronounce this poor guy's name.
I think it's Chiesa.
Michael Chiesa. You are correct.
Because the I comes before the E. Anyways, okay. Moving on, they have tucked this fight right into the center of the pay-per-view card. Featherweights, Renato Moicano takes on Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is a Mark Delgatti fighter. He's 18-2. And he's taking on Renato Moicano, who's 11-1. And that one loss, remember, is Brian Ortega guillotining the shit out of him in round 3.
Yeah.
And that was on the GSP Bisping card or the Daniel Cormier Jones 2 card. I forget. Anyways, Kattar comes in at a minus 140 favorite. Moicano comes back at a plus 110 underdog. I think those odds are right. I'll start us off with this one. I'm gonna throw this out here. I think this fight has a very good chance of being a total dud because both of these guys are rangy counter strikers. They both move backwards. They fight off the back foot. They're used to fighting someone who is aggressing them. They are historically not the aggressor, and when you get two counter strikers in there, there's a lot of waiting. What are your thoughts on this matchup before I shell out the rest of my analysis?
Are both of these fighters a replacement for someone else on this card? Is that what I was reading correctly? Wasn't there? I don't remember if they were always supposed to be on the card, and I don't think they were supposed to fight each other originally. I can't say that I remember ever seeing Calvin Kattar fight. I do remember Moicano in that Brian Ortega fight. I remember him looking pretty good against Brian Ortega.
Yeah.
Up until the point, he might have been winning the fight before he got guillotined. Having said that, I've got no real pick on this one. I'll just have to go with the odds makers.
All right, so let me fill you in on Kelvin Kattar here, or Kattar, sorry. I keep pronouncing that wrong. So he fights out of the Mark Delagrati camp, which I feel like we haven't seen a lot of Mark Delagrati in the last couple of years. Remember when he was like all over the UFC scene?
Yeah.
He had like a bunch of fighters, and then for a while he kind of like disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what was up with that, but he's back. And Kelvin Kattar is... I continually underestimate this guy. But... So... Kelvin Kattar is here because he came in short notice to fight Andre Fili at the same UFC event that I believe that Moicano fought Ortega, or maybe not. But anyways, he comes in against Andre Fili and just like absolutely out kickboxes him, defends every takedown, and very, very solid. So then he fights Shane Burgos, and I think that was on the UFC 220 card, the Miocic versus Ngannou. Did you watch that pay-per-view? Do you remember? Oh, you're breaking up.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
Ah, shit. Well, I hear you there.
I got you there. Yeah, I got you back.
Okay, we good?
What was the question? What fight?
Okay, do you remember the Ngannou Miocic pay-per-view?
Yes.
Okay, so Kelvin Kattar, fought Shane Burgos on that pay-per-view. Do you remember that fight?
Was he on the undercard?
No, he was on the, I believe...
I don't believe I saw any of the undercard.
I'm pretty sure he was on the main card. Anyways, Kelvin Kattar is a very disciplined kickboxer. He's a Mark Delagrati product, so you know he's like minding his P's and Q's in there. He just took Shane Burgos to school with his jab. Like a beautiful, straight jab down the pocket. He won the entire first 2 rounds on his jab alone. Then he follows it up sometimes with a nice straight right, a good 1-2 combo. He covers up very well. He parry strikes very well. He does everything fundamentally right. Even when he switches stances, it's always with a purpose. He's either throwing a low kick or he's throwing like a jab from southpaw. He's always doing something with a purpose. And Moicano, on the other hand, so Moicano was actually a grappler first. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt who's sort of developed into this like rangy Muay Thai striker. Moicano's like well known for his fight against Jeremy Stephens, where he was a huge underdog against Jeremy Stephens, but he just fought him from the outside. He had a really good game plan. He was longer, he used his reach, and he just outpointed Jeremy Stephens to a boring kickboxing match. And like a lot of people hated it, but hey man, the impetus is on Jeremy Stephens to do something if he's losing. And then Moicano went into the Brian Ortega fight that we just talked about. Man, the thing about Moicano is he likes to brawl a little bit too much. Like, he has a Muay Thai background, but he throws a lot of looping strikes. Especially when he's hurt or when he's in the pocket. I mean, he will wing these things like a fucking windmill and hope that he's catching you. And what happens when you have one fighter throwing looping strikes and one fighter throwing straight punches?
Yeah, normally the straight punches get there first.
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm picking Kelvin Kattar here. You still there?
Yeah. So I'm gonna. I'll just be the devil's advocate and go with the pick'em odd makers, giving Moicano the slight favorite, and that's what my pick will be for this one.
You know what I think about this fight is like when they had Kelvin Kattar in there on short notice, they were like, oh fuck it, we'll just throw this guy with a decent record in there with Andre Fili, and then he beats Andre Fili, and they're like, oh shit, like is he for real? So then they say, okay, you know what? We're gonna test him. We're going to see if he's for real, and we're going to put him up against this undefeated prospect who hits hard in Shane Burgos. And then Kelvin Kattar goes out there and jabs his face in for 2 rounds and then knocks him out with an uppercut. And then the UFC goes, oh shit, this guy's exciting, he's good, he's for real, and we like him. So now I feel like this Moicano fight, it's not a test anymore. It's just a progressive step up in competition. It's like now they believe in Kattar. Now they're backing him. Now they're just progressing him as you would expect. They're not trying to convince themselves that he's
worth the time.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So that's what I feel like. This is not the Shane Burgos fight was a test me fight. This is a more like my next step fight. So I'm taking Kattar. He could knock him out, but Moicano's tough, so I'll just say decision here. And for the fun of it, you're taking Moicano. It will be exciting if it goes to the ground. I will say the one problem that Kattar still has is he just can't get his back off the fence sometimes. I mean, like, he really needs to shuffle out of those bad positions. That was the only time where Burgos really caught him with body shots and with some combos was against the fence. So, you know, if he gets caught against the fence and Moicano grabs a leg and sneaks up his back, a la Damian Maia, maybe some bad things will happen there, but I don't think so. So that rounds out fight number 3 of the pay-per-view card. And like I said, I think they strategically threw that in the middle there just in case it is a complete dud. You know, 2 guys searching for counter-strikes doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think they snuck that in there, like, because those first 2 lightweight fights, I think those are going to be exciting no matter what, you know? Yeah, they're
definitely the curtain jerkers. They're there for a reason.
Right. Like, there's a reason they did not open with Kattar versus Moicano, let me tell you. All right, anyways, moving along, the co-main event, the first of 2 title fights, Rose Namajunas, the champion, takes on Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the returning challenger, the former champion at strawweight. So Rose Namajunas comes in at 7-3, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk comes back at 14-1. Now the odds opened. Let me just look this up to make sure, because I find this very interesting. Okay, the odds started when they first released the odds. Joanna was a minus 225 favorite, and Rose was plus 180. Right now, Joanna is all the way down to minus 115, and Rose comes back at plus 110, essentially even.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting. And I'm gonna lay out.
I'm gonna say the odds makers on this one had it a little more correct in my book, and I think people betting with who they like, personality-wise, who they want to win, has brought these odds back closer.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, let me lay out these 2 data points I want to throw on the table real quick, and I want to hear what you think about this. So, first of all, Joanna Jędrzejczyk is getting an instant rematch against the girl that took her belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
If she wins this fight, she will be the first champion to take her belt back in an immediate rematch since 2004. And guess who that was?
This
is a tough one.
I'm thinking 2004. Is this a lightweight fight?
Light heavyweight, I'll give you that.
All right, I don't know.
Okay, it was when Vitor Belfort came out and TKO'd Randy Couture on a doctor stoppage cut. He won.
And then Couture came back and cracked him
and beat his ass. Yeah,
came back and
isn't it crazy to
held him down and
right? Yeah, that was back when Vitor just had, he cracked under pressure and just, where was your jiu-jitsu?
Well,
anyways,
not only that, he was juiced to the gills, 240 pounds into that fight, and was more worried about blitzing finish.
Ah, those were the good old days, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anyways, but isn't that weird that we've seen a lot of champion instant rematches and no one's ever got the belt back?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And it's going to be a tough road for Joanna in this one, being that, she lost in dramatic, definitive fashion.
Right.
I mean, you don't get much more definitive than that.
Right, and she's having a little bit case of championship denial there too.
She's a good talker, and I think that, the way she's been talking might be one of the reasons why the odds maker gave us such a big bounce on this one, because she said, I don't want to make any excuses. Everybody says that right before they make an excuse. I'm not making any excuses, but
yeah.
I had a really bad weight cut.
Right. And that's what I want to talk about real quick before we dig out the rest of this analysis. I listened to her interview on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. Dude, she is living and dying on that hill about her weight cut. She attributes 100% of that loss to her weight cut. Like, this was not, Rose caught me with a pretty good shot, and I just couldn't recover. But you know what? She really did. Her striking was effective. Like, she got me there. Nope. None of that. No. It was just like, why did you lose? Weight cut. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, maybe I can, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the weight cut was bad, and you can attribute a lot of that to the loss. But, I mean, Rose Namajunas punched you in the face, you got rocked, and then you got dropped again. Like, that's a fact that she is not acknowledging. But you know what? We'll see this Saturday whether it was all weight cut or not, right? Because, I mean, she's saying right now she's like 125. And so she's got 10 pounds to go. And she's saying last time she fought Rose at this point in time, she was 130 all the way up until Thursday.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what the fuck happened there. But let's just talk about the weight cut for a second. I mean, for competitive jiu-jitsu, I've cut no more than 5 or 8 pounds, but I'm sure for wrestling you've cut more than that. What's the most weight you've ever cut for wrestling or jiu-jitsu? And did you ever have a match where you felt like the weight cut had a negative influence on you?
Oh yeah, for sure. My sophomore year in college, the first time we had to make scratch plus one. Back then, this was the year that they started doing the two wrestlers died. This is in 1997. This was been about October and November of 1997. I went to, we were going to the Pembroke Open, and I ended up having to cut like, I want to say 16 pounds from 8 o'clock Thursday night until 4 p.m. Friday. And it was the first time we had to make scratch plus one, which means you have to weigh. So I had to weigh 126 plus 1 pounds. Before that, the other two tournaments we had wrestled in, they were like plus 4 or plus 5. And back then you would.
Wait, were you walking around at like 143 or something?
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah, I started out the season walking around at 55. That was also the first year that they decided to put us on creatine during our weightlifting program during the summer. So, and I stayed on it until this tournament. Before the trainers, somebody finally said, hey, you carry a lot of water weight whenever you're on creatine. This was like when creatine was first coming out. It was the miracle drug. I didn't know what it did. They gave it to us in a spoon. Like, you took a spoon from your mouth. You didn't even mix it with anything. But anyway, so my very first match on that one obviously died.
So you're fighting at 126 or 127?
I was wrestling at 127. Yeah, I died in the first match of the tournament.
Was it same day weigh-ins?
Yeah. For that Friday night, we had to weigh in, and you only weighed in once for this tournament. So
but you never,
that night I wrestled once, and then three. So yeah, go ahead.
You fought at your dehydrated weight, like you never even got it back.
Right. That night.
Doesn't make any sense to me. How? It
was literally, and since I was 126. The 18th, that's the second weight class on the whole team. So it's a big tournament. It was like 32 wrestler tournament. My first match that night was right after weigh-ins. And we didn't care. Nobody cared back then. There was no rehydrated. There was none of that shit. So I got smashed by a kid from Carson Newman, and ended up not having to wrestle again that night because I was going to be in the wrestlebacks after that, and ended up wrestling again at like 8 o'clock that night. Had a little bit of time to rehydrate, and then ended up coming back the next day, going all the way through the bottom bracket and coming back and getting third in that tournament, wrestling the kid that I lost to from Carson Newman and just destroying him. And I fully attribute that first loss to the weight cut.
So
I couldn't. I died.
When you went through after you rehydrated, like, what do you think you were while you were wrestling the rest of that tournament?
Probably put on an easy 8 to 10 pounds. I probably put on like 4 before my second match, and then
Just
an
from
easy
water?
another 4 or 5 pounds. Yeah, and then another 4 or 5 pounds overnight, and the next day, wrestling all the way through the wrestlebacks felt great because I was in shape. It was just it wasn't like I was out of shape. It was just too much of a weight cut. I could think of a million times what yourself, For
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, it's easy, wrestling IBJJF, you have to weigh in that day, so I don't cut weight. Just works out for me that I walk around right out of weight class.
Right. Yeah,
And,
it works out for you. I mean, I have to.
Nope.
For me, I'm in between featherweight and lightweight for IBJJF, but for New Breed and Naga, fuck it, we get 24 hours to rehydrate, so I'll fight at 150 for that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and now, nowadays with the knowledge that is out there, just using whereas before we were just not drinking water, not eating, nowadays that you water load at the beginning of the week, and you end up slowly tapering back. Your body's used to flushing a whole bunch of water. It's so much easier. Back then we were just retarded.
Yeah, there's a knowledge difference now, and especially with martial arts being more popular, like the cutting weight is just a thing of the present now. It's much more popular. It's not as popular in boxing,
Yeah.
even though boxing has been around forever.
I will say that this fight, the first fight, I can say she can probably attribute some of it to if she did have a bad weight cut. I know what that feels like. They do have 24 hours to rehydrate, but if she was cutting that much, I believe it's a lot easier for guys to cut weight. You've got more muscle, more mass to carry around. You can hide more water in there. For someone like Joanna who walks around, what do you think? I mean, for a woman her size,
132, 135. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm body fat percentage.
Oh yeah,
I mean
nothing.
She's got to be beat down for a woman, and it could be brutal on her, But she did get clipped,
Right.
And when she got clipped twice, that sucked all along. Whatever.
Oh, we're losing you. We're losing you.
All right.
Wait, you there?
Hey there, I'm here.
Okay, yeah,
I've never lost.
you're breaking up a little bit. All right, say something.
Hey, you there?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, keep going.
So I can attribute, I can see her attributing some of it. The thing I think she's doing most right now is saying it and convincing herself so that she can go. She's going to beat that drum. Not only I don't think she's doing it for the fans as much as she's doing it for.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually the hardest fight for me to pick on the card. I'll say that. Namajunas came in at plus 400 for that fight. And, it started with one thing I noticed, she had a very high guard. And right in the beginning, she drops her with that right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Joanna gets up. And she's there, she's present, she's defending herself. Rose kind of rushes her, and Joanna is throwing these like awkward punches, like in a brawling, winging mode, like while she's backing up. Very, very atypical of what Jędrzejczyk would normally do. And then, so she drops her with that right at 256. And then Joanna gets full guard. and she kind of scoots back to the fence, and she's able to get up. And then you can see her, like, as she's rocked, she's, like, having trouble finding the distance. But, she's thrown a couple front kicks and, like, keeping the distance. Then Rose just comes in and blitzes her with a left hook. And that's where Joanna just turtles up, and she ground and pounds her, and that was the finish. So, I don't know. There's not a lot of data to, like, make from that fight. You know what I mean? Like I said before, this is the hardest fight for me to pick on the card.
I'm gonna go with my first pick. I'm gonna say I think Joanna is gonna be that first person since 2004 to get their title back in the first title defense. I think tool-wise, she's got more tools. I think she's used this weight cut issue as a good excuse for herself. To get her head back right into this, and I think she's going to be okay. I think she's going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, it's like my initial thought is like I'm going to pick Joanna to fight a smarter fight, to be a little bit more aware in the first round. Like, I attribute this loss partially to the weight cut, partially because I think, when she got caught in the beginning, like 2 minutes in, I think she just never really recovered. I think that shocked her, and I think she just, like, was really caught off guard, and she never was mentally in the place she needed to be. And then once she got caught again, like, she was just never, like, in the game there. Like, I don't think she expected Rose to clip her like that. And like we said, Joanna starts really slow. Rose usually has a good first round. All these things, plus the weight cut, were kind of just this, like, perfect storm that worked against Joanna. But, I don't know. There's some weird part of me that thinks she's going to go in there again and just, like, have trouble against Rose again, like a Hayden Barrow against TJ Dillashaw type of situation. Not that extreme, but
or Aldo versus Holloway.
Yeah,
because I don't know if you remember, I once again picked the champ to come back, and it did not happen that way. So you might be correct, but I'm gonna stick by it. I'm going to go with Joanna on this one. I still think she's the more complete fighter.
Yeah.
I've seen Rose crack under pressure too, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Joanna too. And, I hate that we're picking, like, most of the same people, but, all the data we have leads me to believe that Joanna should have the more effective kickboxing game for 5 rounds. And... Like, Rose might be the better grappler. No, she definitely is the better grappler. But she can't get it there. She can't wrestle her way there. And that's a crutch that, she can't activate.
Yeah, I mean, when you see, if wrestlers like Jessica Andrade and Claudia Gadelha can't drag Joanna down to the ground, I don't see Rose being able to do it either.
Right. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Joanna as well. I think she will get the belt back. I think she just has to be a little more aware, a little more defensive of Rose's length. And Rose has a really good straight right hand that she finds a way to place that. And Joanna has to respect that. And I think now she will fully respect that and build the game around it. And I think she will win at least 4 rounds here against Rose. Probably a decision. Probably like a 49-46, 48-47 type thing.
Okay.
So, okay, and that brings us to the main event, which was supposed to be Ferguson Nurmagomedov. Yes, I'm rubbing more salt in the wound. It is now Holloway versus Nurmagomedov. You know what? They could have found worse replacements here. Or let's just be grateful for a moment. We could have been looking at Rose and Joanna headlining and then scrapping Khabib altogether.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be grateful for this, and like I thought maybe they would bump Pettis up or bump Chiesa up or Iaquinta or Paul Felder, but they kept all those fights intact. They called a couple people, and Max Holloway was like, "Yo, let's do the damn thing." # UFC Hawaii. And here we are. So, okay, well, let me just read the odds. Holloway comes in as the 145-pound featherweight champion. He's 19-3 in the UFC, or in his mixed martial arts career. He comes in at a plus 375 underdog. Khabib Nurmagomedov comes in at 25-0, undefeated, as a minus 550 favorite. Pretty wide odds there. How do you feel about that?
I believe... I would even believe them to be a little bit wider.
You think they could be wider?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not just saying that because, like I said, I'm a Khabib fanboy. I just think, Max has got so many things going against him going into this fight.
Yeah.
He's going to be the smaller fighter. He's going to have basically no training camp.
It's going to be all weight cutting,
Yeah, he's on record as saying he's injured. These things do not point in a good direction for Max Blessed Holloway.
No.
Am I proud of him for taking this fight on short notice against this guy?
Of course.
Yeah, you're a fucking stud, dude. You got balls bigger. You got balls bigger than Hawaii. But shit. If I was his mom or his dad, I would have chained his ass to the bed, and he would not have made it off the island to come out here.
Yeah.
I would have been like, this just isn't a good career move. I get it. You're that fighter where you could look at it and say, it's possibly a no lose situation, or maybe you think of it even better as a win-win situation. But to me, I don't see it that way. I mean, I guess he can tap,
Well, how much money do you think he's making, though? The UFC is throwing a ton of money at him to do this.
Yeah, and if he's hashtag, UFC Hawaii, maybe they also made a promise, but, let's hope he got that shit in writing.
Yeah.
They promised a lot of stuff.
So, let's talk about, like, the variables here for a second. So, okay, first of all, I want to talk about this Tony Ferguson thing. Apparently, everything I've heard is that this actually happened on a Thursday. Tony Ferguson was doing a media event for the UFC, and he tripped over like a cable, like turning around to acknowledge a friend or a producer that he knew, and he like fell and twisted his knee, and then he like moved on with the day, and like he said it hurt and was swollen, but he wasn't worrying about it. And then progressively, like, he felt like it got worse. He was having trouble training. So Saturday day, they went and got it MRI'd because they were starting to worry about it. And then he met with optometrist or whatever. I don't know. He met with a doctor at midnight on Saturday night to look at his MRI results. And they said, your LCL is fully torn. Like, off the bone. And, I don't know, man. That just sounds fucking weird to me. To fully tear an LCL, and so for the people that don't know, your LCL and MCL are on the inside and outside of your knees. These are the injuries that you hear about with the minor tears, grade 1, 2, and 3. They heal on their own. The ACL is in the center. That's what usually requires surgery for a full tear. Your MCL and LCL, this is a very common injury for wrestlers, jiu-jitsu practitioners, like soccer players, football players, like anybody that's like turning quickly, basketball players. Those ligaments on the outside of your knee to partially tear those can heal on their own with some rehab, usually like a 6-week type of thing. But to fully tear it just from falling, that's kind of...
My guess is
that weird to you?
My guess is, we all know Ferguson's a fucking savage. From all reports, this guy trains harder than anybody out there. I'm
not questioning that.
He runs through training partners like this. So my thought is, this guy's probably had a slight tear or a partial tear, and this is me bro sciencing the shit out of this. But he's probably had a partial tear for a while. It's one of them things that I know I probably walked around with the torn MCL, for a long time. It hurts.
Right.
It's a pain in the ass, but you learn how to work. You learn how to work around it. Yes. So my guess is he had this, kind of lingering, little bit messed up on the knee. Probably didn't say shit to anybody because he doesn't. That's the kind of guy he is.
Right.
And this was just the straw. And imagine the camp he put himself through for this Nurmagomedov that Khabib fight.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Imagine the hell he put himself through to get himself ready. I imagine his body was at the breaking point, and you spend that last 10 days or so just kind of letting your body recuperate from it. My guess is he was at the very, very end of his capacity, and this thing just ripped on him.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is now. The fight's off, and we're all sad about it. But moving on. So, okay, a couple things about Holloway. Like, this is why he's at such a disadvantage. We have to talk about this. He pulled out of the fight on March 3rd. Sorry, not on March 3rd. The March 3rd fight where he was supposed to fight Frankie Edgar, he pulled out 4 weeks prior because of a ankle injury. So that was, figure 8 weeks ago. So you basically figure that 3 weeks ago he was not fit to fight. And on top of that, like 8 days ago, he was on the MMA Hour saying that he wouldn't be ready to fight for a month or two or whatever because of the injury. It was like healing up, but he wasn't full training. On top of that, his camp calls the UFC and says, fuck it, like, we want this fight. Or actually, I think the UFC called him and he said, yeah, I want to do it. And his manager told the UFC, can we do it at 170? That's not good. That's not good news for Max Holloway fans if they're asking for the fight at 170 in 6 days' notice. And the UFC said, no, we really want it to be for a title.
For an interim title.
Well, actually, I've heard that this is for the real title, and they're going to strip McGregor and Tony as soon as the first punch is thrown. But we'll talk.
Why not?
Yeah, because fucking nothing makes sense. But anyways, so the UFC comes back and says, no, we want it to be for a title. And Max's camp, they're employing George Lockhart, who is the nutritionist who is known for getting people down in their weight, blah, 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 blah. George Lockhart, as they describe, crunches the numbers for about an hour and decides that, yes, we can make 155 in 6 days. It'll be hard. He also, quote, it will be tied for the biggest weight cut I've ever done. So the question that I really want to know is, what the fuck did Max Holloway weigh when he got that call? Because I think Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour said that he knows the weight, but he's been asked not to talk about it or not disclose it. But he said, I'll tell you this, it's not close to 155.
Fuck.
Yeah.
None of this bodes well.
But I didn't think Max Holloway walked around that big. I would have said like 165. But it sounds like he's in the mid 170s the way they're talking about it, I mean, it sounds like he's going to cut like 18 or 20 pounds in like 6 days. I don't know, man, but I will tell you this. Khabib was on the MMA Hour on Monday, so yesterday, and he said, I'll tell you this. Right now, I weigh less than 170. Which, like, I would take that as Khabib probably weighs like 168 right now. And he's like, I for sure am going to make 155. He's like, I don't know about Max Holloway, but I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, this is in Brooklyn, remember, so you got the strict New York Athletic Commission. They will not let Max Holloway fight if he does not make 161. And I mean, I'm sure he'll make at least 160, but I don't know, man. Yeah. So that's a huge mountain to climb for Max Holloway. Like, he's not going to have a 6-day camp. No, his camp is going to be cutting weight for 6 days. That's all he's going to be doing. So I did go back and watch a lot of tape on everybody that Max Holloway has fought that I would deem a good wrestler, just to try and get a grasp of his takedown defense, because there's this stat floating around out there that Max Holloway has like 93% takedown defense in the UFC, and it's true. It's true. People like Jeremy Stevens, Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo, Ricardo Lamas. They've all failed to take him down.
None of those known for their extreme takedown ability.
Except, I would say Ricardo Lamas probably is the best of them as a D3 wrestler and a pretty good top game artist. But Ricardo Lamas went 0 for 3 against Max Holloway. Is Ricardo Lamas Khabib Nurmagomedov? No, of course not. But the last time Max Holloway was taken down was in 2014 from Clay Collard. So, I mean, you hear this all the time, though, before Khabib's fights. Like, you heard it with Edson Barbosa. He had only got taken down twice in his last, 30 attempts. And look what Khabib got him down 4 times and hurt him. Held him there, hurt him. So, I will say, like, I did the due diligence of at least analyzing Holloway's takedown defense. And it's good. It's good. He defended, like, just from the Lamas fight. He defended a double easily. He defended a single. He immediately got the whizzer. And then as the fight went on, he started to get more comfortable with his guillotine attacks. But he doesn't jump them. He doesn't fall into them. He attacks them with like a proactive sense of getting on top. You know what I mean? Like in those front headlock series where like somebody's got a single leg on you, but you're threatening so much with the guillotine and hipping into them that you end up on top in a front headlock series. And you love to see that from a Max Holloway. It's just the problem I have, everyone's like, oh, he's got great takedown defense, so this is going to be fun, or at least close. And it's just, man, like, he's going to have just such a hard underhook battle with Khabib on the fence. Khabib gets his takedowns on the fence, usually. Usually it's on the fence. He digs in those doubles, or he gets the body lock, like trip takedowns. But Max Holloway is just going to be fighting for underhooks the whole time. That weighs on your arms. And I think this will be a really interesting first 2 rounds. But after that, I think Holloway is he's going to drown. And I think we're going to see Holloway's guard. We're going to see Holloway's half guard. We're going to see Holloway's side control defense. And these are not things that Holloway wants us to see if the game plan goes his way. Yeah.
I would not even put Max Holloway's takedown defense up there with, his top 3 attributes. Max Holloway is one of the slickest boxers right now fighting in the UFC. He keeps everything, down the line. He hits you. He's very efficient. I think that's probably his best attribute is when he's throwing something that's normally touching you, like a Nate Diaz or a Nick Diaz, where, all of those punches that are hitting you are going to accumulate up. Like you said, Nurmagomedov is not a double leg shooter hardly. He's not going to be, shooting from the outside trying to get a hold of a single. He's going to be, pressuring in, walking through punches, throwing some looping ones to keep you honest. And then he's going to grind you up against the fence and dig underhooks, body locks. And, Holloway's just not built for that kind of fight, not with somebody bigger than him.
Right.
I don't care what his weight is right now. He is not a bigger man than Nurmagomedov. He's just not. And I think he's going to, like you said, if things are going his way, he's not working from his guard, half guard, or from side control. He's standing up with you in front of him, peppering away at you with crisp, clean boxing. And if he's got you stunned, he's gonna use his jiu-jitsu. That's what he did against Cub
Swanson.
Cub Swanson. That's what he did
Aldo.
Against Aldo in their first fight. You saw him doing brilliant, beautiful transitions on top. Yeah, surfing brilliant. On top. But he did that on a very, on a
weary, dazed Aldo.
Yeah, someone sitting on Queer Street. He had him all kinds of messed up in the head when he was doing that.
Right.
I don't see Nurmagomedov getting rocked like that, and Aldo being able to take advantage of those positions on him. And Nurmagomedov has a top game like nobody else in the business. I think if he gets on top, it's through dealing. You think it's going to be an interesting 1 or 2 rounds? I don't. I think it's going to be a 1 round.
Wow. Okay.
Nurmagomedov has seems to have this weight cut down. I think he's going to go at it, and he's going to want to get this one over with quick so he can have a quick turnaround if possible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like, I hope it goes more than a round because, you know, if this was full camp Max Holloway, I would still pick Khabib, but this would be much more interesting. You know, there's so many things that are stacked against Max Holloway. Even Khabib said it in an interview. He was like, I wouldn't fucking take this fight if I were Max Holloway on 6 days' notice. And that was not him pumping up or inflating himself. That was him saying it's just not a smart move to not be prepared.
No.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the UFC is throwing a ton of money at Max Holloway, so much money that he's saying, you know what, it doesn't fucking matter. I just need to show up and, like, does he think he can win? I don't know. Maybe. But, like, this is a guy who couldn't fight 3 weeks ago and he's coming off an injury. Like, you can't tell me that, you know, he's in fight shape. Especially if he requested the fight at 170. So there's just too many things going against Max Holloway. It kind of takes the luster off this fight a little bit. But I will say I just want to add these really quick things about Khabib because this is something I was going to mention if the Ferguson fight was happening. I felt like that fight would have answered some questions about Khabib that I have. One of them is that he's never fought 5 rounds. And I question his ability to maintain the pace that he does for 5 rounds. Obviously, because Ferguson would have had that cardio advantage. I don't think Holloway is in that shape at this point. I don't think it's going to go to the championship rounds. So I'm not sure if we're going to get those answers that I'm looking for. The other thing is about the weight cut. And it sounds to me like Khabib has it under control this time. But people forget that more than half his career, Khabib has not been a lightweight. Like, I don't think people understand that. Khabib got into the UFC when he was 16-0, maybe? Let me check this real quick. When Khabib debuted in the UFC, he was 17-0, and that was his first fight at lightweight. So he's only fought at the weight class 9 times. He missed weight once, and then he couldn't make it to the fight because of the weight class another time. So you're talking about he's only got 80% chance to even show up in the cage at 155. I mean, that's decent, but, you know, this is not an easy weight cut for Khabib. He is a huge 155-pound fighter, and I thought that was something that that cardio Tony Ferguson might have been able to take advantage of, but short camp Max Holloway, not so much. So I'm picking Khabib as well. I think he probably gets him out of there in the second round late, but I hope it goes at least a little bit more. I just want to see more data on Khabib that we don't have yet. So, you know, Max Holloway has good takedown defense. Cool. I want to see that tested, but I would love to see Khabib go to the 4th or 5th round just so we have that evidence of it being there. And I don't think this fight is going to get us that. I think it's probably going to end in the 2nd or 3rd, and you think it's going to end in the 1st. So, I mean, yeah, that's about it. That's all I have for that. So we're both picking Khabib there. I mean, not really a surprise. Really, all odds stacked against Holloway there. All right, that being said, let's move on to the listener mail real quick. I want to get to this. So, Felipe from California writes in, hold on, let me see. All right, Max has a tough weight cut ahead of him, and he hasn't been training 100% because of an ankle injury. If he doesn't make the weight, does he still fight for a title? And what is Max's advantage against Khabib in this fight? So, I mean, we can answer the first part of that right away. If he doesn't make the weight, Max does not fight for the title, but Khabib will still fight for the title. And what is the advantage that Max has in this fight? Well, obviously his striking is much better.
Yeah, I would say his striking and his efficiency of motion. He doesn't get tired, not because he's he's obviously in great shape, but, more importantly, he knows how to use his body and not fatigue himself. Everything is very efficient. Everything is very smart. And that's where that, being that marathon runner, comes from, is him being very efficient with all of his movements.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Would you say that Holloway has better takedown defense than Ferguson?
I don't know. Ferguson's his takedown defense is different. I mean, he doesn't really have great takedown defense. He just doesn't mind being on the ground.
Well, he's got those like funk rolls, those like Ben Askren rolls,
Yeah, he'll flop and roll, but that's not necessarily defense. He's just making situations better.
He makes scrambles.
Yeah. So I would say I would say Ferguson over top of Holloway in the sense that if Ferguson does get taken down, it's not the end of the world because he's going to make something flop and happen at the end of it anyway. So,
right. I would say, though, Max Holloway has better traditional takedown defense in terms of, like, getting the whizzer on the single, pushing the head down, stepping out, getting the underhooks, like, doing what is fundamentally correct.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Ferguson
he wrestles correct for his body and his style.
Right.
Very loosey-goosey.
Yeah, the thing is, Khabib doesn't shoot singles in the middle of the cage, so I don't... Yeah. So I'm not sure. I mean, when you compare
head.
Right. I think they have very different styles, which is funny because Ferguson and Holloway, they are both strikers,
Yeah.
But, all right, let's get to the next one real quick. Okay. Again, this focuses on Holloway. Holloway has some great takedown defense. What does he need to do to avoid getting taken down, and what is his path to victory? This is like a 3-part question. This is Air Water Nature from the MMA subreddit. So our wrestler extraordinaire, Matt Branscombe, what does Max Holloway have to do to be successful in this fight in terms of his takedown defense? I mean, we sort of talked about it. Do you feel that he just doesn't have the tools, or do you feel that he'll be undersized, understrengthed?
Well, I would say, his best defense, is going to be keeping it, punches on the outside. It's going to be, he's got to treat that cage like they're two magnets with both North Poles, facing each other. Anytime his back gets anywhere near the cage, he's got to explode out of there. He cannot let himself get pushed up against the cage. If he's going to be successful, he's going to have to make Nurmagomedov take shots from the outside, in the center of the octagon. Those are going to be the things he has to do. If he's going to be able to do it, I don't know, but that's what he's going to have to do to not end up on his back.
Yeah.
He cannot end up pushed up against the cage. He cannot let him get into that underhook fight because I don't think he's going to win it.
Right. No, I agree.
He has a much better chance of making him take shots on the outside, digging in a whizzer, grinding himself out of bad positions in the center of the ring. Because once he gets mushed up against it, I think gravity and size are going to be up against him.
Yeah. No. I totally agree. I think Holloway's best chance here is to use his distance and movement. In the Lamas fight, he really punished Lamas for shooting at all. Not that Khabib shoots in the same way, but I think Max has to be very conscious about where he is in relation to that cage, just like you said about the magnet effect. I mean, if Max's back is on the cage at any point in time, he's limiting his distance and giving an advantage to Khabib. But if he manages to punish Khabib while he's coming in, with those long shots. I believe he has the reach advantage. If he can hurt Khabib with those knees or swarming combos that he just destroyed Lamas with. One thing about that fight with Lamas, I thought that was a big test me fight for Holloway. I thought that Lamas was like the contender that was gonna really benchmark Holloway's progress, and Holloway came in there and whooped his ass, just beat the shit out of him, beat the brakes off him. So I don't know. Max has to be very aware of his movement, kind of like you said. Maybe that is his greatest strength. Like if he is defending the takedowns at all, if he is finding himself connected, it might already be too late. That's how I feel with this fight. So yeah. All right, that does it for listener mail. That's about it. So we're both taking Khabib here. I mean, are you less excited for this card now? I guess you are, right? Because you wanted to see the Ferguson fight. So let me just ask you for fun: if it was Ferguson, Khabib, who are you picking?
I was picking Khabib. I think that Ferguson tends to give away too many positions. We saw Kevin Lee hold and mush him past his guard, mount him at one point. I mean, those things don't look good. I mean, Kevin Lee is a phenomenal athlete. He's a hell of a wrestler. But I still don't think he's on the level of Khabib. And I think, Khabib has a style that's more punishing from top.
Yes.
So if you let those things happen, you're going to end up giving away part of your power meter, part of your health meter with Khabib. He's going to end up putting a smush on you, and that's where I thought it was going to be.
Right.
In that fight.
Well, I felt like Kevin Lee was maybe a more positionally oriented fighter than Khabib was in terms of his grappling, but yeah, I was gonna pick Khabib as well, but I thought that fight maybe would answer some more questions for us about Khabib than the Max Holloway fight does. I thought maybe Tony Ferguson would make it to round 4 or 5, and that would tell us some more about Khabib's cardio, about his endurance, about his ability to implement his game for more than 3 rounds. So I'm disappointed that we're not getting that, but you never know, man. You never know if Max Holloway can make it to those championship rounds or make it a struggle or hurt him early. You never know. That's the great thing about MMA. We'll be sitting here saying Thug Rose has no chance, and then she's the new champion.
Exactly.
So, all right, that about wraps it up for us. This has been Tomorrow's Fights Podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher. You can find us on YouTube. Of course, the website, tomorrowsfights.com, will have the direct download for audio. And other than that, follow us on Twitter, @TomorrowsFights, and like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the video. The more support you guys give, the more content we can put out. So share, do whatever. We appreciate it. Other than that, this has been Tomorrow's Fights. We will see you Saturday night. Branscombe, you got anything else? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. With that, we will see you on Saturday. Adios.
I don't need you to tell me how fucking good my coffee is, okay? I'm the one who buys it. I know how good it is.